So far, everything's been amazing, in my opinion. So, and I'd like to thank everyone that has spoken thus far. It's been great. I'm going to be speaking about the living Mars, and I think I'm going to offer some real good, hard evidence that what we all know, believe, that Mars is an inhabited planet. I think that these images are going to show that. So here we go. Okay, let me see if I can do this. This is my first time at this, by the way, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, now this is explains Victoria Crater. There was a festival that was on Victoria Crater. And this is looking north from Duck Bay towards a dramatic promontory called Cape Verde. I'm not going to get into all the details there. You can kind of get the general gist of it. And what this is the area that I'm looking at. But just take note that you really can't see anything but the crater. I mean, this outcrop of Cape Verde. And let's see if I can take note of these rocks right here. This will show you that the images that I'm going to show you are going to have those same rocks in there. Now, this is kind of a ramp, and this is where the festival actually is being held. This is the same area. See these two rocks? Mm-hmm. Right here, I'm just going to zoom in on it right now, is the Hammer Man. This guy right here, he's holding on to this outcrop of rock with his left arm, and he's bent over like this, and he's holding a hammer out like that. Okay, now, you're going to notice that I should point out these identifying rocks in the entrance. This, again, is another image that shows nothing there. None of the beings that I'm going to show you that are there during the festival are there now, in this image. Here is the Hammer Man. Here's the ball, here's the peen. This is the hammer handle, 3 fingers, his eyes, head, neck, his arm extended out. Yeah. I'm taking a kind of a approach. I'm not going to, I mean, that's what I really think that is. I mean, it doesn't look like anything but that. This is a little bit more clarity in the image. Now also note behind this guy is this small humanoid. There's his head. He's got green pants on and a pink shirt. Also, here's another. But of course, you know, they haven't made it easy for us to see this stuff. Now, a good friend, Ross Curley, when I was trying to point this out to him, point out the Hammer Man, he found another Hammer Man. Look at the guy. This guy, he's got a elongated nose or front of his face. Here's his eyes. This is his head. He's actually got a flannel shirt on, which you can't really see that well here, and he's holding his hammer out like this.
Maybe a black caftan on the clothing?
I don't think so. I think he actually has a flannel shirt on. This is his waist right here, and of course you can see some more clarity comes out here with the Hammer Man. This kind of gives you a what I do is I've used Picasso to define what I have on Mars, and then I take it into paint and do an identifier. Okay, now this has been found, I think Andy actually pointed this guy out before. I'm calling him Superman. He's got an emblem on his shirt here. He's got some big head of hair. He's just sitting with his arm kind of laid over this rock here. Got a black shirt on. And this is the Viking head. He's got red hair. Here's his forehead, his eyes, his beard, his nose.
That's a big head.
He's gonna find it.
Yeah, now what I think they've done here is of course you got the workers, the two hammermen, and then this is just part of the show. It's just a head that's put out there. And I think the reason that that is put out there, well, I'll show you later here, but this right here, if you're looking at the Cape Verde, if you go over towards the left, you have this guy here who is, it's a joker. Now what I did discover, the more you zoom up onto the joker, he turns into a rabbit, which is really kind of weird. But, and then here's the pointer. Now you can see what happens, it does pixelate some when you make this bigger, but this is his hand, pointing to something, I don't know what. And this, you can see this is PIA 1007. Now, you can also see some additional clarity here. And look right here, here is a clown. Here's another face. Here is a piano player. This is actually what I call a horsehead bar. Here's a lady sitting here. She's kind of bulbous. She's kind of small, but she's sitting down. This is her hair with a bun on her head. In front of her, which I'm going to show it a little bit better later in another image, but there's this guy, I think he's singing. He's got his one arm out like this. It looks like he's singing. Can you guys make that out?
No.
Playing a piano.
I don't see the guy singing, but
Well, the guy, let me see if I think I did include something to make it. Oh,
Another data.
this is if you again are looking at the image and you're actually going to the south east, you find this, which looks like some kind of a couple. This one looks like some type of Sphinx type structure. And here is I think it's a ship inside of this small area here. This also resembles this one. I don't know if it's the same and it's worn down more or what, but so I think this whole image just looks like some kind of Sphinx. Maybe you can see the craft a little bit better in here. Are you guys seeing this?
I think you've been looking at them, you understand. I saw the hammer in his fingers.
Yeah, that was distinctive.
Yeah, that one's not the best one for you guys to see. Okay, this is a little more clarity on the Viking.
The Viking, I can see.
Red hair?
Yeah,
I see
he's
the
got tougher red hair.
Got a mustache, right?
Yes, and beard.
Are you saying these are like
And beard.
statues left?
No, this is a festival going on.
You mean in reality?
They're just having fun this day. And William Whitecrow actually told me that he has noted them, that he's seen festivals on Mars. Okay, so I believe that's exactly
That
what
one up
this
at the
is.
top, that looks like a bird's head.
Yeah, there's a lot of, there's actually, it's hard, I didn't really include it in this, but there's finger painting that's going on. So here, I don't know if you can see this a little bit better, but here's this guy's eyes. I think he's the singer. I think she is actually playing a piano. I could be wrong. This is her, she's got a white collar right here. That's the bun. That's her hair. This is her butt. That's where they, this is this
So
guy's
butt,
leg.
didn't you?
This guy's
That's her
legs.
butt, they're not
Now-
piano.
Now because this is not present on another image of the same Cape Verde, then you know that this is not statuary. Now, some of it is, because I believe that Viking head was just put there as part of the decoration for the festival. Can you see these two guys here? This guy here, he's kind of leaning back, he's walking up, he's carrying something up like this, and he's walking up the ramp. And this guy's carrying something that, he's got his arms wrapped around the top part of it, and he's walking down the ramp. Can you see those
I
guys?
see it right away, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Can you zoom in? Oh, yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, the guy walking up could actually be carrying someone. But the guy walking down, I think he's carrying some type of object.
I only see the one. Can you point him with your pointer? There's one.
Yeah, that's the one. Here's the other one, right here.
Where?
Right here.
Hold it still.
What he's kind of,
I
it's
still
like
only
he's
see
struggling
one.
to hold this guy. He's like back, he's arched back like that. This isn't crystal clear on this larger screen, but I'm just going to run real quick then. Here's the hammerman that I found. Here's the one that Ross found. Here is the Viking head. Here's Superman. Here's the horse head bar. Here's the guys going up, and this one going down the ramp, this one going up the ramp. I don't really think you're going to be able to see this well, but this is the Joker, and this is very close to the area where the festival is going on. So I think this is kind of part of it, or they're going to it, or anyway, these are all, I've really looked at this a lot, and these are all humanoids all through this area. I think they're actually part of the festival. Okay, here's that Joker that when you zoom in, it turns into a rabbit. So you got the Joker that it really looks like a Joker to me with the wide mouth, you know, and then as you get closer, you can see that the ears begin to appear. It becomes a rabbit. This is the Crown King. It's kind of, I think it's kind of Egyptian in nature. Here's the beard on it, the crown. There's another view of that same thing. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Now, you know, what is it? It's perception quotient, correct?
Right, the fact that people
Everyone.
fall, just as with IQ, the intelligence quotient,
Right.
everybody falls on a bell curve of their innate perceptual potential. Some people can't see things, some people can sometimes see things, and some people are very perceptive, but it's a bell curve.
Okay, what this is, and you can get all the info as far as where all of these images are. I have it all documented. This is a race on Mars.
A what?
It's a race. They're racing. This, you can actually see the dust flying off this. I don't know what they're riding, what they're racing. This looks like he's kind of behind a motorcycle, which is kind of weird. Back here are spectators. These are spectators watching the race. And this whole area is like the racetrack. This looks kind of weird. I mean, who knows where it is? It looks like an animal that's racing with them, but I don't think it is. I never could really figure out exactly what it was, but I do believe that they are racing.
There's definitely channelization there that indicates something that could be
Yeah.
a race course,
And here's just another shot of it.
an obstacle course almost.
I've had this PIA, what is it, 09 091. Okay, let's move on. Here's the little house on Mars.
Oh,
And what's really wild is that this is it's almost like a couch sitting on it. I don't know.
When you drive around New Mexico, you see old adobe places, they look a lot like that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, to me, it's pretty obvious that it is some kind of an abode.
Got a door on the side.
And this is the archway rock. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this. Here's a face. I believe that these are all etchings or carvings into the rock here to identify those who live there, which we have found
All over Mars.
all over. Yep.
It's not only littered with heads, faces, skulls, profiles, and masks as sort of the primary Martian art form, but they frequently identify their dwellings in rock and rock-like objects.
Yeah,
with
I've seen it all the time.
different symbols and
Yeah.
sigils right at the opening. Like we would put the number of the house, they will often put some strange sigil to indicate the name of the family that lives there, or that it is inhabited, or something.
Any way to identify the size of that boulder?
It's always hard to estimate size.
Yeah, I've never gotten it because of that.
Respect.
I've never gotten into that. You know, now this is a habitat. It's a bear habitat, and this I believe is the actual entranceway and whatnot.
And let me just mention that some of these rocky formations where you have a sigil around the opening are actually access points to the underground civilization. They're not living inside that rock. They're kind of going into an outwelling from the underground and around the rock and down sort of a stairwell into the cavern, as Courtney Hunt and I did when we were invited that time by one of the Homo Martis to go down and take a look at the underground for 15 minutes.
That brings that out just a little bit more. Okay. This is,
Oh, yeah.
I think, just a bunch of structure. I think it's a living area. It doesn't look like natural terrain to me.
It's like the transfer tubes for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like this would be
it's-
deep
I mean,
where
it's
they all come in together.
very blocky, you know, and it's not pixelation because this area, the light area is not pixelated.
Yeah, the U.S. government concluded during the Mariner mission of the mid-1960s that these long tubular structures on Mars were artificial and indicated habitation of Mars.
Wow.
Okay, this is, you can pretty much see what this is. I mean, nose, mouth, so it's a habitat. And I mean, what the Martians are doing is they're marking their habitats with these terraforms, and what's interesting, of course, about them is that they're identified from above. I mean, this is a orbiter image. See that guy? Well, it's not a guy. It's marking an area of habitation. So, and I don't know. It's hard to identify what this is. I mean, I think this is structure behind it here, but its face is surrounded. I don't know if that's a helmet.
Well, it's a face, and that can express this area is safe for humans. Here you are, we're showing one of us in this location, so you're not likely to be picked off by a predator.
And I believe this
Or we
is
live here.
structure around through here too.
Yeah, we live here, this is an abode.
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of a pictograph in a sense. Truly a pictograph.
This looks like a simian with the helmet on. Can you see that? So, I mean, here's his mouth, eye, and helmet, and I believe this is possibly the entranceway. And this is just simply a photo with some clouds in the sky. Cirrus clouds in the sky.
NASA has found ice on Mars. Oh, not clouds. God forbid clouds.
Okay, this is what I've called the Green Man group. Only because they look green, so you can see a set of humanoids here. Now, this is very close to Gustav crater, or part of it. And let me show you another of this. Okay, I have this identified. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
So, very clear that this is one, and I believe that this is one that's for some reason doing this.
Yeah.
Now, anyone can anyone tell me what this looks like to them? I'll tell you what I think it is. This is right next to the Green Man group, and I believe that this is just some kind of a mechanical device. It may be a permanent one there. This is liquid coming out of it. Now, this is a small humanoid right here, standing beside it. But I feel pretty positive that this is liquid coming out of this machine.
Kind of a bald head and one of those sort of neighbor jackets or caftans.
Yep.
Yeah, very common.
Yep. This is actually the lake that was on PIA 10214, and this is 10240. So just another view of that lake that was in Andy's paper. And I think, to me, it's definitely a lake. I don't think it's blue sand. I think it's a lake.
In fact, and the enlargement showed a plesiosaur-like creature in the shallows, on the right side. Kind
Yes.
of a champ or what is it, Nessie or Ogopogo on the right side. So presumably, such a creature would be bathing in the shallow waters of the lake.
Okay, now, Andy and I talked about what this may be a little bit, but what I really think it is, this is in, again, PIA 10214. When the main reason that I figured out, right from the start, that Andy was telling the absolute truth, was that I downloaded his paper first after communicating with him on January the 8th of 2009. And he was very kind. When I emailed him, he was right back, and he gave me a really nice response and told me how to find the image. I downloaded the image and dove into it. Now, I've been ufologist for 40 years, but I did not think that Mars was inhabited. Matter of fact, I thought Earth was the only planet in our solar system inhabited. I didn't explore beyond that. Well, after I viewed his paper, I then downloaded the image, and I found most, at that point, of everything that Andy found and some. And this was one of them. Now, what I believe this is a hovercraft with occupants. And this is the shield. This is the shield that it has in front of it. And here's the shadow below this hovercraft. And it's like a rock, but why not? Why the vehicle? I mean, they have this anti-gravity propulsion, whatever it is, and why couldn't it be in any shaped object? It could be, in my opinion. Here's just another shot of that, a little bit different color. What I have never done, I don't add color to it. I just change hue and contrast, things like that. I don't want to affect it in any way that makes it seem like I made it something that it isn't. Okay, my wife actually found this. Now, I identified it early on as the Cape guy, but it is a Homo martis. Yeah. See the caftan? Yep. Here's the head, here's the arms, and this guy actually looks like it has some pants on, but I don't know. Okay, I've got another. Okay, now, to give you a perspective of where it is, where this guy is, here is the guy that Andy found. He's got a horn on his head, peering over this rock. And here's the Cape guy. So it's in close proximity to that guy.
Could we see that?
And this,
okay.
One, two. Yep,
Well,
both
that
of
Andy
them.
found.
A lot of these are like looking at rock climbers on Earth. You know, in Arizona, California, you've got these rocky outcroppings, some of them carved, and if you look closely, you can see these tiny humanoids
I found
recreating
That's
on
it up
rocks.
there at the top.
Like the one
yes, this
right
is
there.
it.
You know.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
it right
Any
here.
closer?
Yeah, because I found a horned-headed person too.
I've found a number of them. So
I
they're,
think it's
Yeah,
Yoda.
the Scorpion Man in PI 10214 has a unicorn-like horn over the top of his head.
I love the Scorpion Man.
Yeah. It's a hard one to deny away.
Yeah.
The big hunting football.
Andy, I showed this to Andy, and he identified it as a Minotaur, and it's actually in projectmars.net. If you go to that site and go into the Annals of Mars. Matter of fact, anyone that has not went there needs to go into the Annals of Mars and just look at every single PDF that's on there. There's 136 of them, and there's a lot of information, and it's not just Mars. It's some moon stuff and some information like the fact that Andy was identified as a worldwide whistleblower by Cliff High of Half-Past Human. Okay, now another thing that's really interesting, this is in the South Pole area. And I believe that the entire area that is like this is inhabited. And because of the way all of this is shaped, look at this. This is,
And we call that the Minotaur. I think that's basically a reptoid head. I think it might be a representation like one of the dinosaur-type predators. Again, the motif of reptoid versus mammalian, or reptoid versus humanoid.
What are we looking at here?
See,
Is this
this doesn't
actually
look-
a sculpture or?
It would be a kind of a bas relief from the sky, from space, of the profile of a reptoid, I would guess.
We're
Yeah.
looking at
Is it in a
an
river?
orbital image. Yeah.
It can be affected
Is
like
that in a riverbed?
well, what
Tundra.
I think, this is just my opinion on this, I wouldn't say that it's for sure, but I think that in the warmer climate times when this is again in the South Pole area, that this is water, and it's water or ice depending on the weather, you know. But I think that if you go to where this is, you'll see lots of this. Lots of this, and if you look on all the edges, just about all the edges, they have this kind of strange work where it looks like it's not natural. I mean, that does not look like it's natural. That looks like it was man-made, built into there.
So they've taken naturally carved areas where there's much more water, for example, on the planet, and they've worked the stone so that they basically create a work of art from the natural channelization. So if you can step back from this, we can see the left side profile of a kind of a reptoid that it looks like they used natural channelization and did a little bit more carving to turn it into a work of art. I don't think that's pareidolia. There's just too much of that.
Oh, absolutely.
I
Can
found.
Do you have a zoomed out image of that? Can you zoom that out within the square there? I mean, to see the whole thing.
No, I don't have. I didn't include that in the.
Might not even be there. They do heads a lot.
But if you, like I said, if you go to the image that this came off of, which is the satellite image, you'll see that this is just all over.
Because the neck and lower body look like it could be a bird too.
You got the two little horns at the top.
Yeah, well, that could be a crest.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. Could be a
Yeah,
horse.
it's interpretation, you know, as far as what you really think it looks like. But I thought that the Minotaur identification was pretty cool, but it could be reptilian.
There's so much dichotomization between reptoid and mammalian motifs. It's almost like they're obsessed with that theme. It's just all over the
I
place,
know.
even in the same locations. You know.
Now this, I have a really crazy opinion about Burns Cliff. I don't think it's a cliff at all. As a matter of fact, all of these gray areas, I believe, is water. I believe all of it. I believe it's all water. And there was a lot. Matter of fact, this is the image where the Scorpion Man that I found that corroborated Andy's find of his scorpion beings in PI 10-14, and then just by happen chance, I was at a bookstore that was having a sale outside, and it was an Egyptian book. And the first page I turned to, it has the goddess Serket, and she's on a little block. It was an artifact that was found, and she is half scorpion, half human. Most of the time that you see her, she's depicted with the scorpion motif. But in this case, it was an artifact that found her, showed her as actually half. And that is a PDF in the Annals of Mars. So you can
Right,
check
I think
that
she
out.
was the goddess of the harvest.
I think so.
So she would correspond to, I don't know, the sign of Virgo, sort of.
Demeter.
Or Demeter, yeah. And she's a human scorpion hybrid, and here you have her appearance in the Egyptian pantheon. And we found the other Egyptian artifacts, and something even as obscure as Serket on the surface, and also something very obscure. Neville Thompson's discovery, what we call the horse statue, which was a simple horse on a hobby, like a horse toy.
Yes.
Where it's like on this rocking chair kind of arc.
Yes.
That was in fact an Egyptian hieroglyphic. It meant something. A stationary hobby horse hieroglyph. He found it in
this is a light-skinned ET here. And that's his arm. You can see I've pointed out here. And these are Martians in the water throughout this image. If you really study it, you're going to find that there's animals and beings all in this water. They're all over. And there's actually I tried to find it, but I couldn't find it. This here, I found this. I believe, and Ross actually pointed out there's something inside here, whether it's a boat, a craft, or what. But I think that this is a resort area. All the water, it makes sense. I believe that these are cabanas here.
Oh, yeah.
And so I believe this whole area here and here is all part of a resort. And here's another image of that.
Everything looks dry when you've used color filters to make it monochromatic, right? You could take a picture of the Columbia River going through the Grand Canyon,
Right.
and it would look like a dry gully without the differentiation of the blue river and the brown rock of the canyon, right?
Exactly. And this just gives a little more clarity to it. And I'm going to show you why I think that this is, I don't know if you can, I've identified this guy as the harmonica man. Maybe you can see why. But I'm going to show you why I believe that the cliff is not a cliff. Okay, so here's what I'm seeing here. This is the guy's hair. I don't know, maybe nose, maybe his mouth, and he's playing a harmonica. Maybe. I don't know. But he's standing. Okay, here's his head, eyebrows, hair. So I think if I go in too close, it kind of gets over pixelated.
You know, and Louis, in terms of the signage dimension of their statuary, we recall the fact that we found in some incredibly cartoonish public art, almost childlike on the surface, which again would be consistent with this area is safe, you could recreate here, you can play your harmonica here, you know, carve your rock here.
The big obelisk right below it, though, with perfect 90-degree angles and almost carved.
Okay, this is again, we're still on Burns Cliff. Look at this guy sitting here. He's just sitting back. He's got his left arm on the top of his leg. You can't make out what species he is. I can't anyway. But he's just sitting under, kind of outside, inside and outside of the shade. And what I think is these round objects that are all over, I believe they're actually humanoids, small ones.
Yeah, the Homo martis de minimis, which are the small ones, the 1/4 of an inch to 1 inch, burrow in the dirt. And in fact, Courtney Hunt made reference to that during one of my returns to Southern California. He talked about them and said, oh yeah, the ones that burrow in the ground like prairie dogs, they're actually humanoids with 4 limbs like us. They're tiny, and they're basically soil-bearing humanoids. And sometimes we see their heads popping up in the foreground of certain images.
Yes, yes. And you can see, I think there's water everywhere. I think it's all water. And you know, you're not going to have, unless you can see the source, you're not going to have water like that you can see all over the place if it's that steep a cliff. Now, this is what they're doing, what NASA is doing. Okay, take a look at this. See this rock? It's the same as this rock. It's the same as this rock. Okay, see this? This is the exact same pattern. The exact same patterns are being shown over. Yep. So they're stretching it this way and that way.
Which source did this come from? Is this a high rise or is this a curiosity?
It's a rover.
Rover. Okay.
Yeah.
I wrote about those techniques in a paper for Mars, ProjectMars.net, called The 7 Sins of Data Distortion, where I collaborated with Emily Windsor-Craig on that, a former imaging expert for Xerox. She found, you know, the different things they do to distort. You know, they change the hue, they rotate the image forward, and change the skew of the image so that you can't see proportions of animal or artwork, you know, animals or artwork.
And they do it all the time.
All the time.
Now look at this. I mean, it was when I first discovered this, I was like, no way. But look at the set of rocks, all the same. Every set is the same.
They're notorious for doing that.
So same row of rocks, same row of rocks, same row of rocks.
What's the extent of time lapse before it's released to humanity on the internet? 3 minutes? How long?
No, it's been a long time. Like the famous one of the little lady on the cliff top was taken in November of 2007 and then released after arriving on Earth in January of 2008.
Oh, so there's no telling.
That led to the whole explosion of interest in the anomalies in 2008. You know, the statue of the little lady in the blue dress.
Well, you can see wherever they have these duplicate things, there must be something really groovy there.
Well, I think they're hiding. I think mainly what they're doing here is hiding the fact that that's water. Because I mean, here we go again. Look, one more. I really wanted to show a bunch of this because it is so. I mean, it's so in your face here. It's easy to tell. Okay, now I call this the clown woman chicken. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like the nose of the clown, the mouth. You can see the woman's figure, and the woman's figure actually happens to be the outline for the chicken. Here's the chicken, the tail.
Sounds pretty safe to me.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Clown, a woman, a chicken.
Yeah,
domestic
come on down.
elements of safe to be
A
here.
good time
like-
and dinner here.
Yes.
A restaurant.
Kentucky predators around.
Indian head there.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, that's really clear.
It is an
That's
Indian
one of my
head.
favorite pictures.
Wow.
Looks like the Indian head nickel.
Yeah.
So it's again, it's marking a home. I've dubbed this the Lion King. Here's the headdress, the little beard. Actually looks like more of an Egyptian, type thing. And the mouth, I believe it actually has a ring in its nose here, the eye. And once again, identifying a habitat, Martian habitat. And once again, it's interesting that these can be seen from above. So what's that mean? That means
That's how you're getting home.
so the Martians are flying around, and oh yeah, there we are. We live there. They're depicting this guy, loving what he's doing. Now, I mean, I call it's like the guy riding a bike. I mean, okay, it is a habitat. Okay, now he's smiling. He is smiling. Okay, and he's got his hands on, he's operating, here's his arm out here, and here's his leg going down and on some kind of a pedal.
Yeah.
But this is identifying a habitat again. It's not there for nothing. If you zoom in on this other stuff, you actually see part of the habitat that it is identifying. This is the actual color. I didn't do anything to this. That's it. Now this, I really like this, and I've just recently thought that it's something a bit different than what I had originally thought. I thought that these Martians here were coming down to worship at these statues, but in fact, what I think it is these are talking heads. I think they're living beings. I didn't include this one image in this because that I found, because I couldn't find it, but I found an amphitheater, outdoor amphitheater, and there's bleachers. There's this guy, he's standing there like this, like he's singing. And then there's this lady, she's coming down this ramp, and she is jubilant. She's got a short skirt on, she's dark-skinned, and she's clapping. She's coming down like she's dancing down the ramp, you know, and what it looks like along this amphitheater on the back of it are large heads. Large, intelligent heads. And now, I mean, I could be wrong, of course, but here, if you look here, okay, for this guy, it looks like Max Headroom. And then you have, of course, these look Egyptian. This is the shadow cast on this one.
Yeah.
Here's could be Homo Martis Terrace because of the balding that's coming down this ramp here. Now, again, when you zoom in on this, and I believe all of these are humanoids worshiping either these statues or living, talking heads.
We have a split of opinion on this as well. What I see here
Yes.
is the profiles of females in conical headdress, and hence high Egyptian iconography.
Right. Yeah,
What I think this is simply a sort of a cliff or natural rock outcropping that was shaped in a very beautiful way. And down below, what we're actually seeing is kind of a public staircase where you can walk along and look up at this work of art that's been carved into the hillside.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we actually see some evidence of a walkway and much smaller beings who are walking up this staircase at these marvelous, beautiful works of art that are carved out of the rock right above them on the hillside.
Now, I thought that's what I've thought all along, that they were in fact statues that were being looked at, worshipped, or whatever. But I call this Mount Marsmore.
See the other small objects there, the tiny
Why do you
humanoids?
think there's so much better color in this photo?
Yeah, Lewis, if I might.
Yeah, go
What I
ahead.
mean is, look, you see bulbous heads here,
Yes.
these small humanoids,
Mhm.
and then you have the statuary, which is much larger, and it's laying against the ground, so those are probably not living beings. What I think these are people recreating in this park area, and they're looking up at the public statuary on the hillside.
I think those are two lights underneath.
Could very well be.
Or lights.
Yeah.
Shining
Yeah.
onto that.
Could very well be,
office.
yep.
But a lot of the...
Matter of fact, it's likely that you were more correct in the assessment, because, I mean, that's what I had thought all along, that it was some kind of a scene like that. But then I'm like, well, I wonder if they're talking heads.
But that's an apt title, because it is sort of a big public sculpture of,
Yeah.
objects of veneration. In the case of Mount Rushmore, political, but in the case of this, sort of, the monarchical or pharaohic class.
Yeah, and then of course, this is where I identified it as Mount Marsmore. This is really interesting. It kind of goes back to what Andy and I were talking about before, about how, your line of sight. If you look at actually the rock structure itself, it isn't anything. But when the shadow comes down, it forms a ram or a goat. So coming from with the sun coming in this way and the shadow coming down, it looks like a ram's head.
Is that a black and white or gray tone, or what are we looking at?
That's a reptile, bird.
Reptilians.
And we don't know what scale we're looking at as far as miles above. And
No, all I know is that this is a satellite image.
They don't tell you that how many miles Voyager is above Mars.
Scale.
There is a scale.
I'm sure there is. It's just one of those things that I have never gotten into. I've never done. I've just made the findings. I got excited about the findings, then I showed them to Andy and Ross. Okay, now this is the dog ET habitat. Now you can see that there's dog profile and a ET or
Oh, yeah.
Homo mortis extraterrestrialis. And then this right here, you can see a spire here, and this is the building entrance. So it's marking the entranceway right here.
It looks like a profile of the avian.
Yeah, so if you can zoom in on here.
That is
see
odd, isn't it?
They definitely do a lot more public sculpture synthesized with buildings, with habitat, with human habitat.
I think this whole
We do.
area here, and actually all around this, this is in this area.
Wow.
And to me, that's not natural.
Nope, it's like
That
stairs,
is awesome.
like steps.
And this is all around. This is all around this area.
Of course, that's flat, isn't it?
Well, it's an orbiter image.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
Looks like a stairway.
I think one thing you got to remember too with the orbiter images, you're not necessarily looking straight down upon them because they're going to be taking an image of a cliff, and the camera could be pointed this way.
Right.
So you're actually seeing the side of the cliff, so you're not seeing the tops of things, you're seeing the side view of things. Okay, so this is, if I got this right, there was a bunch of dinosaur artifacts found that were only about 6,000 years old. And how did they know? Now, what I'm about to show you here, this is a dinosaur I found on Mars. And Andy said it looked like one of the kinds that you could pet. So this would be his nose and his eye socket, his head, and his tail kind of back here. I know he's docile because in this area is also the duck-billed woman, which I'm going to show you. So this is the two.
Wow.
Louis, that's not the platypus on the lake beneath Husband Hill, is it?
No, no.
So there's also something very similar to this, where there's sort of a platypus-like creature on the shore of what we're calling Husband Lake, beneath Husband Hill.
Right.
Named for Richard Husband, one of the Challenger pilots. And I guess one of the pilots of the space shuttle Columbia. And it almost looks like there are 8 little platypuses breastfeeding with that apparently mother platypus on the shore of that lake in PI.
I remember taking a look at that.
Yeah, very similar.
Now, this entire area, if you go to this image, it's kind of shocking because there's life all over it. It is wild. As a matter of fact, I showed it to Ross, and we were going to do a project with it, but it literally blew him away so much he didn't look at it. You know. So this is a duck-billed lady. Okay, now what she's setting this tray of food on, I don't know. Here's her face. It's got a duck bill, eyes, her hair. This is her arm. She's actually got ruffled short sleeves. This is her skirt, and this is her leg. Okay, here she is again. This is untouched. I didn't touch this at all. Might have lightened it a little bit. Now, also, you'll note here's a. I think this is a being. I don't think it's a carving. I don't think she's a carving. I think it's an actual being. What this is, this has some kind of. I don't know if this is another plate of food or whatever. But throughout this image, you find humanoids all over it. This is, Hebe's jasmine. Okay, now, what's really wild is I haven't noticed a lot of people, or I don't know if I've noticed anyone else finding what I found at the head of this. And I know this is one that Andy likes a lot. So I think most of you are familiar with this jasmine, and it's really interesting. But this is at the top of it. So if you go back here, right up here, is this. Ram's head. Or goat's head.
That's what I meant. If I might have that stick again.
Is that the one you were?
Yeah, this is one I was
Because
calling
you've
devil's
always
head.
thought this was your favorite.
This is one that's hard to see, but then when you see it, it just leaps out at you. Basically, it's the left profile again of like a deer man. Here's his chin, his mouth, his deer-like or elk-like nose, and then this hair or horn-like thing coming off here. And here's his eye socket. Look how evolved the eye is. You have the eye, the eyebrow. It's basically sort of this sharp, devil-like profile.
Yeah.
You see? Now that can't be even if it's a water channelization around a lake. When in any picture on Earth have you seen, let's say, a lake in Maine or Canada or some area like that, where from sky view, where from plan view from space, you've got this sharp face of a humanoid with a long nose, the mouth, the chin, and then clear eye socket and eye, and the spiky kind of hair or horns on the head. That clearly is an artificial channelization of that area. So I think that's what I was calling devil's head. I think that's just an incredible find. It's just an incredible find.
And I think
Yeah.
this is, some structure right down here. Matter of fact, I think this image just has structure all over it.
Kind of reptilian or devil's-like motif, you know, kind of spooky looking.
This is my guy with the turban.
That looks interesting.
Got a turban on.
That's a good piece.
Kind of looking down just from that angle. This I'm calling a face in a face. Here's the large one, and then here's another one inside it. And again, it's a habitat, and this is segmented right here.
Oddly, they do a lot of blurring of faces and multiple faces, almost like the cubism of a Pablo Picasso, where you have different facets of the human face on the same basic object.
This is a polar base on the North Pole. You can see the structure.
Buildings.
So now that this one is untouched, but you can pretty clearly see the structure here. And this could be, this could be a catch basin. This could be water there.
Maybe even some kind of large worm or snake coming over the crest of the summit there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
What is that in the background? Is that ice, or, I mean, it looks like snow, or is it, did you change the color on that?
No, I didn't change any of this color. This is as it appears on
The cobra.
the image. But it's just really, look how this is kind of flattened out. It's, I don't know. And then there's something right in here. You know, some of the stuff I find it's really interesting, but I have trouble identifying everything that's there. This looks like a face over here, and more habitat. So I definitely believe it's a base, and my guess, it's one of ours.
Well, I think we should note that because of the solar system catastrophe, Mars did become a vast muddy wasteland.
Mm-hmm.
So a number of species that prevailed, there's an attempt to remain alive as a species, were large snakes and slugs and things like that were natural burrowers of the soil. So I think that's actually a large earthworm-like thing coming over the crest of a hill. There's a lot of that, and that was one of the terrifying things of going there. We were always looking down at the ground so that we didn't step on a snake and get bitten and killed. So Mars is full of serpent-like creatures, as was depicted in that Val Kilmer film. I think it was called Red Planet or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is. I mean, when I saw this, I had to really take a look at it, and what really caught my eye was just take a look at this. I'm going to show it larger here in a minute. Take a look at this gold area. Okay, now. This is a mouse structure. You can see that this is sectioned off structure through here.
Yeah, the face of a man there in the left bottom corner.
Yep. An elf, a monkey,
Yep.
bearded face. Okay, so,
Almost like a Jesus face in the left corner there.
yes,
With
yes.
the eyebrows, the deep set, sort of slitty eyes, and a beard.
Okay, so what, I really saw the light in this image.
Literally.
So, yes, this is, it's a light. There's no doubt in my mind, it's a light. So it's- And I don't have it on here, but I zoomed in on some of the stuff, you could actually see humanoids inside there. I mean, you can really tell that that is a light.
Yeah,
That's not, color.
come out, yeah, way above.
Okay, so, and here's just some more light.
And that would be the first sign of human civilization. From hundreds of miles out.
Or it could be a crocodile.
Well, folks,
Oh, that's,
Wow.
just going into it.
It was iceberg,
I was
huh?
starting to see it.
again, I have seen the light, and Mars is alive.
Yeah.